Hi, Tom Cole, the coach for Steve Taylor Community Connection, and certainly honor and privilege to be here with the boss, Mr. Steve Taylor, the megastar in WSPD, Mr. Fred LeFebvre, and Mr. Earl Mack, who leads the Buffalo Soldiers. You know, you see the Buffalo Soldiers around town all the time in your vests. Those are very cool, same garb, on the motorcycles. There's a history here that goes way back into the 1800s as being peacekeepers, kind of almost an extension of law enforcement in a civil community. Yeah. But I don't know if the general public understands, but what the initial Buffalo Soldiers were all about. Maybe you could give us a little bit of that.
Well, right after the Civil War, there were four black units that were started, and we wear those colors on our vests, the 2 infantry units, and there were 2 cavalry units also, because the slaves who had just been freed wanted to help serve the country, all right? And they needed jobs. They wanted to support their families. So for $13 a month for serving in the United States Army, they were able to send some money back, and they were able to get a sense of respect and service. They wanted to be a part of the United States of America. Right. They wanted to earn that respect by fighting for their country. And so those units were formed. They were always led by white commanders, and they were led over to the west side of the country, all right, anything other on the other side of the Mississippi. So they helped to settle the West. They, as you mentioned, they were the first sheriffs of many towns. They were the law. And you can imagine how that would be. You've got all the white settlers coming over, and the black guy is in charge, all right? What they used to refer to as the colored troops were in charge. They were the original Southern Border Police. They helped deliver the mail. They fought with the Indians. They fought for the Indians. The history is really a grab bag of what they did out west. They were the original park rangers. The roads that they built in Sequoia National Park still are being used today. You know, you see the sequoia trees with the big tunnels in them. Right. Those guys did all that. Buffalo Soldiers did all that. So the history goes from right after the Civil War all the way up through the end of World War II, and a little bit after when Truman finally integrated the troops. Now there are still Buffalo Soldier units. I have friends who fought in Vietnam who were part of the Buffalo Soldier units. Okay. They just weren't segregated at that point. And that's what we try to do as a group. When Earl originally joined the national organization and then started our organization 10 years ago, the idea was to teach that history, because you don't learn that history in school. Right. So our 3 precepts are to teach the history of the original Buffalo Soldiers, to ride our bikes, which is wind therapy is great.
Wind therapy, I like that.
And then community service, and that's really what we're all about, and that's where this guy leads, is when it comes to community service.
Well, I've seen some of the things you've done locally. A lot of it's with children, and we try to get involved in the community too, and do a lot with the kids in the community, and that's obviously the future of of Lucas County and Northwest Ohio. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you've done in the past, and maybe some of the things you have coming up with the Buffalo Soldiers and some of the kids?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our interaction with kids is to really teach kids how to fellowship with other kids. Okay. And so we take them places. We take kids from one school that meet kids from another school, and they get to talk with each other. We take them to horse ranches, where it's really exciting for them, and they get to talk to each other. And before you know it, they're bumping fists. They're putting each other's phone numbers in their phones. And we say bingo. And when they get back to school, bullying drops, because now we starting to know each other, and they're getting that relationship. So that's the main thing as to why we do things with the kids. And most of the stuff we do, as you see, is with kids. The other things we do is with military. Okay. We have a military program doing Veterans Day. Veterans doing Veterans Day, they can go to a participating restaurant and they get their meal for no cost. Yeah. But what they did, they forgot about the homebound veteran that can't get out. Right. Yeah. So one year we got together and talked. We got about 16 restaurants or so the first year, and they then let us come into those restaurants and get those homebound meals and take them to the veterans. And we partnered with Veteran Services, with the National Guard. We use the National Guard Army every Veterans Day, and we distribute those meals out. The other thing we do is Christmas things. our Christmas tree. We see every year people piling up toys, which is okay, and kids come in and they look through the toys and I want this one and that one. Well, what we do on our Christmas tree, we give an angel, and so each kid has 3 wishes, and they'll put those 3 wishes on that angel of what they want. Then our supporters will go out and buy either all 3 of the angels, all 3 of the wishes on the angels, or 1 or 2 of the wishes, and that way the kids get exactly what they want.
Right.
And you won't believe, and Fred will tell you, you will not believe the smiles and the excitement on these kids' faces when they come into their schools or their churches and they see the toys that they actually asked for that they get. So we do all those kind of things and much more.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know, the veterans thing, we served over 300 meals to shut-in veterans last year with help from people like Bob Evans and Jamay's and even the small restaurants, Tony Paco's, Dirty Bird, things like that. The kids this year, I think we had about 400 children that got, and almost always they get everything. The Perrysburg and the Maumee Rotaries have been so good to us in going out and buying the Christmas gifts and wrapping everything. And the other focus for us is our senior citizens. We teach emergency preparedness to block bunch groups and the history of the soldiers. That's always a component of whatever we do. With the elementary school kids, we also do a gun safety program, NRA approved gun safety program, to teach kids what to do if they happen to come across a gun or see a gun or hear gunfire. We teach an anti-bullying class, real similar like a Sesame Street type.
Which is so essential today, Fred. You know, if you've never taught, and I taught for 30 years, and I'm telling you, people have no idea when a youngster, you know, it can be a couple of words that's said to that youngster,
Exactly.
and they're just not equipped to handle it at that young age, and it destroys them. And you've got to, when you see the bullying, you got to stop it. You got to do something to stop it.
And part of our mission in taking kids to a lot of different places, Globetrotter games, baseball games, is like Earl said, to get them together. Our signature program, though, which is a really dramatic presentation, is called What to Do When Stopped by the Police. And it makes sure that the officer and the passenger,
the protocol to follow,
and the driver, absolutely, down to a letter. And we show a dramatic video of a woman who is refusing to cooperate.
Right.
She ends up in a police chase twice. She ends up driving into the city at a high rate of speed, running red lights and everything else, with a van full of children. At the end of the video, spoiler alert, she goes to jail. Her 15-year-old, who decided to get out of the van and try to fight the police officer, just missed being shot at, goes to juvie. Every other kid in the van ends up in children's services out in Arizona or Nevada, wherever this was filmed, and she's from back east. And all she had to do was accept it. In this particular state, all you do is take the ticket and say, yes, you gave me a ticket. And say you're guilty. All she had to do was take it and say, yes, you gave.
Well, and the other good thing about that particular program, we teach kids, if a police officer had to call for backup, he said, who do you think the backup is coming for? It's not coming for you, it's coming to protect that officer. And in this particular scene, backup arrived and there were shots.
There were shots fired at the van.
And so we tell the kids, if you don't comply now and complain later, these things could happen. And you can see at each stage, when we stop the video and we say, okay, what do you think? Well, they should have complied. Run the video again, stop it. What do you think? They should have complied. We said, bingo, the message is getting out.
A great teachable moment, right? You know, Bill Bradley used to talk about teachable moments. Everything you experience, good or bad, is a teachable moment. You know, I think something that is hurting us today in our local communities across the country even is service, is giving back. You 3 gentlemen have been examples all your lives of giving back to the community. How can I help? How can I give back? So I would like to ask you gentlemen, what has made you guys that way? Because that's what you've done.
For me, I've always talked on air on my show about not waiting for somebody else to come in. Don't wait for the government. They just don't know how to do it. I've always been if you see a problem, do it. When I heard about this organization, probably about 10 years ago, I asked Earl to come on. And he explained what they were doing. And I said, man, that sounds great. That sounds like something I would like to do. So I started to support their events by talking about them on air and then going out to the events. And then before I know it, somebody gave me a patch that
You're looking good in the vest, by the way, Fred. I'll tell you
that
that.
made me a secretary, and then somebody gave me another badge, which
nice.
made me a
Wait,
PIO.
it's called a military volunteer.
And next thing I know, I got a motorcycle, and now, now I'm going.
Got it.
For him, I think it came out of your service in the Army, right?
Oh, correct. That and just growing up in the inner city as a child, because I was raised basically without a dad.
Yes.
And so there were adults that took me under their wing, and I was an angry kid in school because of something that I seen that happen in my home with my father. And if it wasn't for those men that took me under their wings in a school that was called Parkland, it was an all-boys school that was authoritarian, that ran that school, and his words were this: when they took us in the hallway, he says, if you're gonna make it, it's gonna be because of you. If you're gonna fail, it's gonna be because of you. I have 51% of the vote, you convinced me otherwise. And and it taught us kids, if you didn't make it in Parkland, you either went to jail or you went to the grave. And that's not, and don't beat me up too bad here, but I think that's what some of these boys need today, and they need to bring the draft back too. Okay, you can beat me up now.
No. You know what? I've talked to a lot of military men, and thank you for your service, Earl. A lot of military people. I have the utmost respect for any man or woman that has served in our country. They deserve help with meals, medical. They shouldn't go without anything. Without them, we don't live the lives we live. And I think people get away from that, and they don't understand it. I mean, it's so important, but service would be a good thing. Say a compulsory 2-year, it would be a good thing for many, many young people as far as the discipline, pride, feeling good about themselves, a sense of accomplishment. You know, a lot of times kids are so immature when they get out there, they're not ready to deal where the structure of the military gives them those fundamentals that they can be successful.
Well, I'm curious because we collaborate with an awful lot of businesses, and some are committed to that. And I see all the stuff that you guys do on your YouTube channel and your website and everything, and giveaways and stuff like that. But for me, I think it goes deeper with you. It really is more about the service than the flash in the pan stuff. Why is that?
Oh no, it's so important, and I think it comes from my dad. He started the company in 1979. He came. His dad died when he was young, 14 years old, and he sort of became the man of the family.
Yeah.
And he worked his summers downtown Detroit, taking 2 different buses. So he's got a work ethic that, you know, really supersedes all else. But he taught me at a young age the importance of giving back. And he's always been so committed to Toledo just because of what Toledo has done for him. And so locally owned, locally committed has been his mantra for years and years. And he's taught me, and we always say it's not just words on the building, it's what we do on a daily basis. And I think it's because we want to make a difference. And there's when you wake up every day with the opportunity to make a difference, I think it'd be a disservice if you didn't. And so every day that's what we do, and it's heartfelt, it's true, and it's not just flash in the pan. And we've surrounded ourselves with good people like Tom and Terry and Mary Helen Dara, Joan, Vicki, all these community outreach coordinators that say, how can we get involved and give back to the communities that have helped us over the last 40-something years? And then even things like I saw on your Facebook page, you posted something about the Buffalo Soldiers, and I just thought, I've been hearing more about this, but I don't know about the organization. Fred, can you pass out some information, come in, and then boom, all of a sudden we get you in, and now here's another opportunity for us to get involved and give back and just help out, in one other small way.
Here's what I found over the years is, and I try to use the show for this, is to have groups that are doing something. Because so often, my audience in particular will say, why isn't somebody doing something about this? And so Tremaine Rayford was on recently. He runs the program. Rashawn Jones, who runs the boxing program. The guy who brought the Golden Gloves, Lamar, was on with me. People who are committed to doing something in the community need to have their voice heard. Because there are people out there who don't know. They don't know that you're out there doing stuff. Not everybody looks at your YouTube channel. So it's important to make them aware. It doesn't take that much.
Right.
If you give somebody an hour of stuffing envelopes or making phone calls, there's a charity out there that will go, oh man, that was such a big help.
Right.
If you just repost what they posted
Right.
about a good event, then you get attention. We've gotten so much attention from just using Facebook as a message bearer.
Well, Fred, you and Earl will like this because Steve came up with this, and it's not just writing checks. He said, sure, we're going to contribute, but Steve would always say, yes, but how are we involved, and how are we personally helping them, in what fashion? Not just writing a check and leaving. I mean, everybody needs money, we get all that, but we are involved. We're going to be part of this. We're going to, you know, at a personal level, and I think that makes all the difference. And the other thing you gentlemen are talking about, I think Martin Luther King said it, John Kennedy said it, and I think more people should believe it. One person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Because we get into this malaise of, well, you can't do anything about it. Well, you know what? You can do something about it if you choose, right?
Well, you can't wait for somebody else. You can't say, when is somebody going to do something? Because you are that somebody.
Right.
And so when he calls, and all hours of the night.
Earl!
Seriously, all hours of the night.
Are you sleeping, Earl, or
I
what?
just got a call from somebody. They want to know if we can, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm done it pretty much at 9 o'clock. So I'm like, yeah, because that half hour that we spend talking to a couple of senior citizens,
Right.
or that hour that we go to Pickett Elementary, which has been forgotten for years,
Yes.
and teach them safety and anti-bullying, that's worth it. Real quick story. We did a gun safety class, and you remember that little girl that got shot in the car,
Yes.
little 10-year-old. At the end of the gun safety class, we tell kids, what do you do when you hear gunshots? And they all say, run. No, because you may be running towards the shooter.
Right.
You hit the ground. If you're in a car, take your seatbelt off, and you hit the floor.
Right.
We're all done. Little boy comes up to me, tears in his eyes. And he says, I wish my sister had heard that message.
Right.
It was his sister who got shot in that car. So that's when I knew, okay, we made a difference today. That kid got the message. And those other kids, the 100 other kids that were in that class, they got the message that day. So I know I'm on the right road.
But see, you gentlemen are creating a tipping point. It's the Malcolm Gladwell book that only change comes from localized pockets of influence, and that's what Jude 3, and they're doing it every day, and that's the difference maker. It really isn't some massive legislative thing. Most times it's local people doing their bit to try and make things better.
Yeah, and we need to get the legislative thing out of our way.
Yeah, right.
So,
Right, no question.
We're the government, we're here to help you. No, I'm a firm believer in, if we're gonna change anything, it's gotta be one-on-one, all right? When he and I sit down, it's, you know, it's not because where he's from or what he believes, all that stuff is aside. What's the mission today?
Yeah.
Let's go do the mission.
Yep, 100%.
That's great. Well, tell the folks, we always love to have folks on like you guys, and maybe that not everybody knows about what you're doing, and if you tell the folks that are watching how they can get more involved or how they can maybe follow along with the great things you're doing in the community. And
Well, as the PIO, that's my job.
All right, there you go.
I don't get paid for it, but it's my job. You can go to ToledoBuffaloSoldiers.org. That's our website, and you can see everything there. We have a Facebook page. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow Earl on Facebook. We post regularly about any of the events that we do. April 22nd, we're doing a motorcycle safety event. We're riding down 75. I don't know if you saw it. This guy riding his motorcycle puts his arms out like this.
Oh my God.
As he's getting off on the Detroit Avenue exit at I-75. And in my head, I'm thinking, we should tell him about this motorcycle safety class on the 22nd at the venues, but he will not pay attention.
Oh, wow.
Scared the hell out of me. And then we're celebrating our 10th anniversary in July. We're the first state, Ohio's the very first state, to have an actual Buffalo Soldier Day. And it is July 29th, the celebration of when the soldiers were originally incorporated.
Very cool.
And on a regular basis, if you need us to come out to your school, to your block watch, to your senior citizen home, you go to the website, ToledoBuffaloSoldiers.org. All the information is there, phone numbers, email, pictures of what we've done in the past, and pictures of what we plan on doing.
And let me remind any teachers or principals that see this, when you invite us to your school, the first thing I'm afraid to tell you that we demand is respect.
Yeah.
Those kids have to respect themselves first to respect us, and nobody gets out of line. When we walk in the door and we set the tone, those kids are quiet, and teachers come up to us and say, oh, we never had them like this.
Could you guys come back every day?
Right.
His tone is, I'm not your mother, I'm not your father, this is who I am.
Fred, you already scared me. I'm good to go right now.
Coming from him, it's even more powerful.
Wow. No, that's great. Well, I think that's something we could use in our country a little bit more is respect. It's one of our core values here at the dealership. We talk about it all the time, and so I think that's great. Good message to end on. We appreciate you guys coming in today.
Yes.
We're
Thank you
excited
so
to get
much,
involved.
too.
Yeah, and I think it's a great organization. You're doing so much for our community, so we
Absolutely.
appreciate all you do. Folks, if you want to get involved, check us out. We'll share the links on the screen too. But like you said, check out their Facebook page. Fred's always posting great things. We're
Yeah.
excited about the 10th anniversary coming up in July, and there's going to be a lot of things before that we can get involved with to help out.
Absolutely.
So thanks for tuning in to another one of Steve Taylor's Community Connections. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.